I did a search with Palmer Amaranth, and this is the results of the search, just the first one or two. And you can see this first one is in a journal called Scientific Reports, and then you can see also the Find It button there. And then the second one is actually some people we know in published in Weed Science. So in each case you see the Find It button, and the Find It button is commonly the way that we get something from this point. This happens also to be in full text from the publisher, so it's an open access article, but I'm still going to click on Find It to show you what you get next. See, it'll open up and then you'll see the citation for the thing, and then you could download the PDF if you so chose. Another feature, I opened up the citation to see these other features. A couple of other things you can do in Web of Science is that they'll show you the cited references, which of course can be handy. But then they also have what they call related records. And if you click on that View Related Records arrow, what you'll get is a set of other records where there are shared references in common. And while those aren't necessarily identically related to the first one, it's often enough useful that I find it a very handy feature. Now down in that the bottom of that same citation we were looking at, you can see they've showed us our authors and the contact information, but also the funding agency. And in this case it's a Minnesota outfit, but in a lot of cases it'll be something that's more universally available. Okay, SciFinder. SciFinder is one of those I think that could be used by a lot of people and isn't as much, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to mention it. It is chemical abstracts and Medline and patents and structures and some other things. So it's kind of complicated, but I think it's really interesting. You do have to register for it. You can see on the slide that it has registration instructions. And if you don't have a UARC email yet, that's one of the ones that you need a UARC email for your registration. So I'll just mention that. I know some of you do have a UARC email, and then once you've registered, you should be able to go ahead and use it if you care to. Here's what the login screen looks like, and the search screen looks like this. So it's a little different from the average. They want us to put in basically a sentence that describes what we're searching for, as you'll see from the examples. And you can also limit to different kinds of publications. You could also search by company name, by document identifier if you had a DOI, say look for a patent, things of that nature. And then down here is where we'd start to look for chemical structures. But if I put in a search, I put in flooding, the effect of flooding on heavy metals in clay soils, and we end up with 11 references that have all of the concepts close together, and then another 70 that have the concepts in the reference. So I clicked on both those boxes, and then I hit the go button, and we ended up with this result. And this is the first one that I'm going to use as an example. When you open it, you can see you've got the title of the piece, you've got the abstract. SciFinder's a little old-fashioned in the sense that they still use a lot of the abbreviations that they historically used. Like, I think it's just something they do it. It's a part of their heritage, so that's fine. But you'll sometimes, I run it like compiled or completed is an abbreviation there. Doesn't matter. If you wanted to get to this article, you could hit link to other sources, and then it would go through a couple of other steps, and then it would jump to, in this case, the full text of the article, because it's open access, but also it's something that we offer through our subscriptions. So pretty straightforwardly, you could open that up and look at it. One more thing to talk about. I know practically everybody uses Google Scholar or Google, and there's nothing wrong with that. I tend to lean toward the databases because of their specificity, and also because often it's easier to get to the full text through the databases, and we're paying for them, so we may as well use them. But there are often things that you can do pretty quickly with Google Scholar, as I'm sure you've seen. Google Scholar does put an and between terms, so if you've ever wondered sometimes why you end up with certain things, it's probably because it anded the terms. It stacks things by the most highly cited in general, so that's why you'll sometimes see things that are from a ways back. It is not universal, and it is not comprehensive in terms of time, so there are things that you won't get that are older, particularly. Usually it's from the mid-90s or so forward, but often that's okay, depending on what you're after. You can use ORs in a search. The only way it will recognize OR as a useful term is if you capitalize it, and so I actually do that in all the databases now just because I've gotten a habit. You can use the quotation marks to get a phrase, and that's really useful. There are other fields that you can use, like author, colon, no space, and then somebody's name in quotation marks, and get things by the author. Title, you can do the same way. The main thing you have to remember is that there's no space after the colon. You write in the field like author or title, and then a colon, and then no space, and then a quotation mark or whatever the term is that you're trying to put in. In terms of getting things that we can give you through Google Scholar, if you set the settings, you have to be logged in to set the settings, or at least to hold the settings. But if you're logged in, like basically by having a Gmail account and logging into it, there's the setting bars, or one of my colleagues calls it a hamburger, up here in the corner. You click on that and then you'll get this screen that offers you some different settings. You click on settings, and then you'll see that there's several, including library links, which is what I clicked on to get to this screen. And it will offer you some choices. If it doesn't show you these, you can search University of Arkansas or WorldCat, and then click the checkboxes and save them. And that will let Google Scholar recognize you as part of us and let you have more materials. Okay, questions at this point? This is my very large and silly dog, but I like to include her when I can in these. So I'm going to turn off the recording, or you all can turn off the recording, and then I'll take questions.